profoundly tragic entry into our series processing the global trauma. Unfortunately, in this case, I've been forced to change the title to Processing the Local Trauma. For context, as time goes on, I hope that we will remember on March 22nd, there is a mass casualty shooting in Boulder, Colorado. For some of my fans who have followed closely, that is my hometown, and this is very near my house. This is, in fact, my grocery store that I've been going to for about 5 years, and that's a profoundly personal and very real consequence of many of the social issues that I strive to address in my work through societal commentary that I believe is an irreversible part of studying history. In this space, I don't believe that I am able to successfully broach the subject on my own, but I feel like I need to do something. So I'm going to be playing Washington Post, a journalism that is the Colorado State Representative body. I'm sure you can see it on screen, and we'll just be listening to the government officials who in many ways are paid to be the speakers for the community, at least our representatives, and we will preserve what their statements are as one of the first steps in history, which is recording. I am safe, and I was in my home the entire time during the incident, but I'm very lucky to, well, I should say, I felt the need to do something, to speak at all, to do anything about this subject, because I have the privilege of making noise and bringing attention to these issues, partially because 10 people can't after the events of the 22nd. So let's just begin with doing what we can do, which is getting this down in a place that can be accessed by more people and will be within our power and control of whether or not it stays up or down or can be easily found by us in our community. So starting with State Representative Tracy Burnett.
10 lives were taken from us yesterday. That's 10 empty place settings at the Thanksgiving table. 10 families without the funny sibling, the witty uncle, or the generous daughter. 10 funerals. Long after the national TV cameras are gone, after the headlines fade, after yesterday's events are relegated to history, this pain will persist in Boulder. I hope this body can honor the victims not only with our silence, our thoughts, and our prayers, but with our action.
This is traumatizing, what has happened to us. And I have gone through deep sadness for the victims and their families. And we have often felt, especially in the last few years, like it's going to be a matter, not a matter of if, but a matter of when. At some point, this was going to happen in Boulder, and it feels very personal. It feels very personal.
Every morning, when I get ready to leave the house, I reach in the closet, I grab Alex's jacket, wear that in with me. Because I hope that keeps me grounded that gives me a calming effect. And I also hope that during the course of my day that someone else, will notice it and they'll see this is what gun violence looks like. This is a survivor and a victim of a mass shooting, and this is what it looks like. Some days, when I know the days are going to be really rough, I wear it on inside because I need his strength. I need to feel him holding me and telling me, Dad, you can get through this. So that's why I'm wearing it today.
I apologize. I'm very raw about this. And I think that I'm raw because it just keeps happening and my heart doesn't have time to heal in between. Our people, your people, do not feel safe. I need to rephrase that. It's not that we don't feel safe. We're not safe. Feeling safe is an illusion. Being safe is something we can do something about.
We are going to have another moment of silence at the end of the speakers today. But I don't want to lead that because I don't want to be silent. The victims won't hear our silence. We have to speak with our actions. We have to make it easier to get mental health services than it is to get a gun. We have to address our culture of violence. We have to be loud, not silent.
Okay, so that I appreciate the last speaker in many ways because she actually said what that action can and should look like. I believe that most, if not all, of those representatives were Democrats in that particular video, who often oppose Republican politicians on getting stricter gun control laws, or at least they are the only option for Americans to hold as liberal policies as the American political system can hold right now. Some of those include giving people health care for free, or not charging them to get mental health if they need it, and tightening down on gun control licenses. But this question of should the population be armed in general is one of the important questions that the modern society is suffering and indeed dying because they can't answer adequately. Or they cannot answer in ways that prevent people from dying. This is, again, one of the consequences of having access to large volumes of power in the hands of people who can and will misuse that power. And it's a potent question. One of the ones that spoke to me the most is we are not safe. It is not that we, do not feel safe. It is that we genuinely are not safe. And this is something that I have been talking about my entire life to various people's, saying that I'm crazy or that I'm paranoid. But safety in itself is an illusion. Even when you are the strongest person, even when you have all of the gun training and martial arts that is reasonably available to anyone, anyone can die on their way to work in a car. Anyone can be shot unawares from a position that they did not see coming. Anyone can be sniped. Anyone, the sniper reference is, let's see if I can find it. I believe Well, there's a highway sniper in North Carolina. There's it's a little discerning that all you have to do is type in sniper in America. Um, and you get lots of hits. So it's in some ways a too common occurrence. Yep, we're getting the University of Texas Tower shooting on August 1st, 1966. So, again, there's a lot. I mean, this is a article by Connie Post of the Dayton Daily News. August 1st, 1996, University of Texas massacre, a 96-minute shooting rampage on the observation deck of the Tower building at the University of Texas in Austin led 17 dead and 31 injured. The assailant was identified as an engineering student, Charles Whitman, who hours before had stabbed both his mother and wife to death. He was nicknamed the Texas Tower Sniper, and his rampage ended when Austin police officers shot and killed him. On November 12, 1966, Rosemar College of Beauty shootings, Robert Benjamin Smith, age 18, shot and killed 5, including a 3-year-old girl, and injured 2 more with a .22 caliber pistol at Rosemar College of Beauty in Mesa, Arizona. He confessed to the killings and was found guilty of murder and sentenced to death. But because of the 1972 U.S. Supreme Court moratorium on the death penalty, his sentence was commuted to life in prison. Smith said he sought fame through his actions and identified with his heroes of Whitman, as well as Richard Ben Jenkins Speck, who tortured, raped, and murdered 8 Illinois nursing students in July 14, 1966. November 1st, 1991, the University of Iowa shooting, a former graduate student named Gang Liu shot and killed 4 faculty members and administrators in the physics astronomy department and injured another before committing suicide. April 16th, 2007, this is the one that I was originally remembering, a Virginia Tech shooting, a 23-year-old student, Sing Hee Cho, shot and killed 32 students and faculty before committing suicide. So this was the year that I entered college at UCSB. He had enrolled in business information technology. Then in his senior year, he switched his major to English. I guess that's all the information they had on him. February 14th, 2008, Northern Illinois University shooting. Former sociology student, 27-year-old Stephen Kazimirek, used a shotgun and 3 pistols to kill 5 and injure 21, but more before committing suicide. At the time, Kazimirek was enrolled in a graduate social work program at the University of Illinois on the Urbana-Champaign campus. April 2nd, 2012, Oikos University shooting. Former student Wan Lee Go is suspected of shooting and killing 7 and injuring 3 others at Oikos University, a Korean Christian college in Oakland, California. He fled campus and surrendered to authorities at a Safeway grocery store. He was determined mentally incompetent to stand trial and was committed for treatment. On June 7, 2013, at Santa Monica shooting, former student John Samir Zawahiri killed his father and brother, then carjacked a stranger, forcing her to drive him to Santa Monica College. Armed with an AR-15 type semi-automatic rifle, he began to shoot at vehicles on campus. Then he walked into the library and opened fire. Altogether, his rampage claimed the lives of 5 and injured 4 others. Police officers shot him in the library, and he later died from his wounds. In 2015, Umpqua Community College, a 26-year-old student, Christopher Harper Mercer, was enrolled in a writing class. He walked into the classroom and shot and killed 9 people and injured 9 others. He asked at least 2 students what their religion was before he shot them. He committed suicide following a gunfight with police officers. So, yeah, the one that I was hoping would be on that list is the Santa Barbara shooting. in Isla Vista in 2014. This is from the Wikipedia. 2014 Isla Vista killings are a series of deadly attacks in Isla Vista, California. On the evening of May 23rd, Elliot Rodger killed 6 people and injured 14 others by gunshot, stabbing, and vehicle ramming near the campus of the University of California at Santa Barbara, and then killed himself. Rodger stabbed 3 men to death in his apartment, apparently one upon their arrival. About 3 hours later, he drove to a sorority house, and after failing to get inside, shot 3 women outside, 2 of whom died. He next drove past a nearby deli and shot to death a male student inside. He then began to drive through Isla Vista, shooting and wounding several pedestrians from his car and striking several others with his car. He exchanged gunfire with the police twice and was injured in the hip. His car crashed into a parked vehicle, and he was found dead inside with self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. Before driving into the sorority house, Rodger uploaded a video to YouTube called Elliot Rodger's Retribution, in which he outlined his planned attack and motives, explained he wanted to punish women for rejecting him and sexually active men because he envied them. He also emailed a lengthy autobiographical manuscript to acquaintances, his therapist, and family members. The document appeared on the internet and became widely known as his manifesto. In it, he describes his childhood, family conflicts, and frustration over inability to find a girlfriend, his hatred of women, and contempt for couples, particularly interracial couples, and his plan for what he described as retribution. So, these are dangerous people, yes, but they are also dangerous ideas that live in the minds of people. And that is what we hope to eliminate. Part of me wishes that I was still part of the medical community so that I could help, so that I could aid my community when it was suffering. But I began to realize that, police officers and medical workers arrive after something horrible has happened. But teachers and mentors and therapists are before something bad happens. And that is what we are trying to do. That is what the work is about. It's about getting some way to eliminate these ideas from the space around us. Right. And, there may be people who say that that's impossible. I am of the opinion that we should try as hard as we possibly can. Many things were considered impossible until society and technology developed to the point where they could get it. And our physical technology has advanced very rapidly in the last 150 years. I think it's about time that our social work and our social knowledge and our social sciences begin to catch up and begin to get the, quite frankly, money and prestige and respect that can go to them, when the society comes together and decides that, yes, this is actually very important. Yes, these things can actually have a genuine effect on people and prevent, in a physical way, the styles and types of deaths that in the military we are, supposedly so afraid of, right? And it's just like humans to think of the physical solution first instead of the one they can't see, the ephemeral. I think that the world would do well to truly begin to ask in a very honest and deep way why these things are happening in the first place, and addressing that answer and that question. So yeah, that is a I don't know. That's even more than I was initially planning on revealing about my thoughts because they're yeah, that's the idea. This is even more than I was originally planning on talking about because it's dangerous to make comments on these subjects. And we don't have all the information out. You know, one of the benefits of history is that we get to wait until we know all of the facts and all of the context, until we have all the details. We're still getting details in about it, and that's what history is made of. History is made of context, and context requires details. It requires information, and that's why we don't do it right away. That's the journalist's job, and the journalists are the first draft of history, and then we get to come in afterwards and try to get at what actually happened. So yeah, I don't know, that's now 2 cities that I've been in, like locally, where I've walked in places that were later the scene of mass shootings. I'm getting pretty sick of it. And I think that in some ways, the world doesn't let you not be who you're supposed to be. It'll show you. It'll keep on showing you why you need to do this stuff. At least that's how it feels for me. So yeah, I think that is nearly exhausts what I'm willing to say at this time. And I don't know. This is kind of why we advocate for mental health. You know, this is why we vote Democrat. This is why we try to get these services available before the violence starts, instead of having to deal with 10 dead people in your grocery store. If there's anything we can do about it at all, I think that it's worth exploring what those things might look like. Because I don't think the answer is giving everyone in that parking lot a gun, because if everyone in that parking lot has a gun and they hear shots and everyone takes out their concealed carry gun and starts looking around, they're going to see 29 people with a gun who they're going to assume is the other gunman. There's no sense of coordination or communication or control. No one has uniforms. So this is, you know, everyone individually thinks, oh, if I had a gun in that parking lot, I would just shoot the shooter, right? And if everyone else is also thinking that, then you might be the person they think is the shooter, right? And this is why that idea doesn't hold up a lot. But yeah, the other thing I was going to say is being in the physical space of a scene of such mass violence is something that I hoped I would never have to deal with. Yeah, the AR-15 stands out, but he also had a pistol, right? It could very easily have been a pistol. Also, like, if you're a dyed-in-the-wool, you know, concealed carry person, you may very well have an AR-15 in your trunk. You know, I know several people that I used to work with who carry shotguns in their trunk. It's one of the common things in Colorado for hunting culture, and also just if you know, are the kind of person that is into guns, there is a high likelihood that you have an AR-15. One of my friends I used to work with at the grocery store, he did have an AR-15 in his home. It was above his mantelpiece. You know, it's a very tech-savvy, modern gun culture icon. Many people have AR-15s. So yeah, it's and also like it's presupposing that the entire 29 people in the King Soopers parking lot in a crisis situation would see everyone else with pistols and say, oh, well, we can only shoot the guy with the AR-15. Let's spend the extra time to go and find that person. Requires like a level of coordination that is not available in mass shooting panic situations. That's why like one of the only things that allows the police to work and the SWAT to work in those situations is a uniform and communication, and like being part of a squad and knowing who your squad is and knowing where everyone is. It's operational level information that does the work. So yeah, but yes, in people who are involved in security or tactics, you know, they're often encouraged to imagine scenarios in which their environment suddenly turns into a battlefield. This is one of the activities that we did at the hospital, was if there was a active shooter, what could you use in your environment to barricade doors? Start getting creative with your escape plans. This is part of the mass shooter training that everyone who works at the hospital goes through, because there have been shooters who hold the hospital accountable for certain people's deaths, or they see it as a public-facing target, but it doesn't really matter. The training is usually the same. But that's the thing, is safety is something you don't just get. You certainly don't get it for free. And it's always kind of an illusion. It's always relative. You know, safe from what, when, where, and why. So yeah, it's just disappointing to have those spaces become actually stained with violence and blood. Like, it's very real. I recognized one of the victims, and it's very real. You know, this stuff isn't a joke anymore. Like, it never was. To be clear, terrorism has been plaguing American society for years, but I think everyone really got the message with 9/11 and the idea of American bombings and violence being a living part of our social culture is something that no one has been able to truly answer. So yeah, I think I'm just going to leave it at that. You know, I don't have any genuine solutions or genuine offerings. It's just, this is one of the reasons that people should be politically active, is because you don't just get to live in a political life. You don't get to close your eyes and pretend, because life will come into your house and life will come into your grocery store and start killing you. Like, we don't just get to pretend that we can all just ignore each other. So yeah, I think that's it for me. Yeah.